Yeah. Welcome back to the show where we shatter the silence on men's mental health. We are unedited, unfiltered.
And as always, we are going raw. I'm Anthony.
My name is Joey.
And I'm Eric, and we're your hosts, and welcome to Raw Minds. Some fucking trauma
Yeah, buddy,
right off
we
the
are
start
back.
there.
Fuck, a little bit. I think kind of tripped and fell on our head today.
Yeah, you guys missed it. We had a little bit
Some
of a
trauma,
blooper.
buddy. Some trauma, man. Welcome back, you boys.
Yes,
Another
yes.
fun-filled night of talking about our fucking problems.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, man.
That's what we do. If you guys are just tuning in for the first time, we are Raw Minds. We are based around men's mental health and mental health in general. I mean, you know, we get a lot of messages from the female side too. So I mean, if it helps you, that's what we're doing this for. And make sure you follow us and hit the like button and subscribe. We are on all social media platforms. And yeah, that's what we do, man. So
There it
welcome
is.
to the show. If you're just tuning in, we thank you. And we are all about giving back and helping whoever it is that we can help. So
Well said. Well said. So,
Touche, sir.
trauma, boys.
So
Trauma. What is trauma?
that is the biggest question, trauma. And that is something that every single person on this planet, adults and well, teenagers too, that really on some form deal with, right? And there's
Yeah.
so many different levels to it, right? From mild to excessive and just extreme, right?
Yeah,
And
So
man.
let's
that's
just
it.
start with the Oxford definition of trauma: a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. That's a very broad thing, right? But
Say it
like Joey
again.
said, there's a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. That's the Oxford definition of trauma.
Okay.
So like Joey said,
Dis-
there's levels to this shit, and it's such a general thing. Like, I don't know. Where do you guys want to start? Do we want to start childhood trauma, relationship trauma?
Well,
I mean, it's all
I don't.
trauma. Like, I mean, but that it's hard to determine too, because also then you have accidental trauma. So there's
Well, I
that
mean,
as
I
well
think
that we can touch on.
trauma is just such a general. It's such a general. Just a word that describes all of it, right?
Fucked.
And because yeah, pretty much, and there's so much of it on so many different levels. And some things that are traumatic to one person may not be traumatic to another.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the person and the scenarios and the situations that we have to deal with and go through, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But a lot of people, and what trauma really is not so much what happened to you, it's what happened inside of you, right? It's a
Yes,
psychic wound
I
that was
agree.
sustained. It's a psychic wound that was
Mhm.
sustained, right? So
Yep.
it's what happens
Yep.
inside of you,
Yep.
right? And the real messed up part about trauma, the biggest part about trauma is that trauma isn't your fault, but it's your responsibility for healing.
Yeah. Which is shitty.
That's the fucked up part when you look at it like that. Because
Yeah.
trauma is things that have happened to you, things that you've had to deal with, right? You don't create your own trauma, you create your own drama and stress, but trauma is
I
things
like
that
that.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But trauma is things that have happened to you or you've had to endure, and you know that wasn't your fault. And this like I said, the shittiest part of that is it's your responsibility to heal from that. right?
Well, there's
It's
different
not the
kinds too,
person
though.
that.
There's physical, mental, psychological as well, right? So it comes
Oh, for
from
sure.
all different types. Um,
And it really
but
depends on it. Like I find
yeah,
like just thinking of my own traumas, like I feel like it's kind of like Joey said, like it's your reaction, right? Like things that I perceive, like thinking about my traumas, like I've got some really fucking stupid ones, and the only reason I regard them as trauma is because I can still recount those scenarios in my head, and the one's fucking stupid, and we'll talk about it. But it's a way you perceive the situation, right? Like I decided that that was going to be trauma or traumatic to me,
yeah,
right? Like the situation in itself, like nobody, I can tell you, I'll just tell you what it was. Like the one I was trying to think of, like the different kind of the different levels of trauma that I have, because like I've got a fair bit, like being in recovery and stuff. Like I've got lots of trauma, but I remember being in fucking public school. And man, do you remember those tearaway pants with the buttons down the side?
I used to
Yeah.
wear them all the time.
So I was pushing one of my friends on the swing. I'm talking like public school, like grade 6, and my fucking pants got caught on the swing, and the swing just ripped them right off. Like I don't let that type of trauma define my life today, but like the fact that I can still recount that so vividly, like that's still technically fucking trauma. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I was so embarrassed in that situation that my pants got ripped off and my underwear was showing, and I was a kid. Like it was how I perceived the situation that I hung on to it as long as I have. Like that was
yeah.
fucking 30 years ago, man. Not
But
quite,
now, if
but
that was you, you'd be standing there, fucking hands at your waist, proud, man, smiling, like, yeah, that
yeah.
just happened.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess little things happen at certain times, that'll affect you in different ways, definitely. But what I
Mhm.
was trying to say earlier, I kind of slipped up on there is, do you believe too? Like personally, I believe that trauma stems from, like PTSD you get or other things, right? Trauma creates these other fears or diagnoses. Do you guys believe the same?
Oh, 100%. And I
Yes, yeah.
that's probably facts. Well, it is facts,
Yeah,
I
hundred
believe,
percent
because
it is. 100% it is. 100%.
like when I even look back at some of my own traumas in my life and my depression, well, my depression stemmed from those traumas, and it stemmed like my anxieties, you know, came from traumas that I've had to endure or deal with, or I didn't deal with, especially
Yeah.
not deal with, right? And most
Yeah.
people have all these traumas and things that happen to them, but they never deal with it. So it creates more anxiety and they're overthinking and all these that stem from it, right? Especially really traumatic situations and things that happened. Look at soldiers in the army, right? They go to war, they're fine, they come back, they see their friends get
Yeah.
blown up and this and that, like very harsh realities and traumatic experiences. And they come back and now they're different. They got the PTSD, they got the depression. Then now they're drinking all the time, but they weren't like that before they left. But because of a situation or something that they've witnessed or had to endure, that changes somebody, right? And even
Yeah.
even just heartbreak, can be very traumatic for people on how they take that and changes them, right?
True.
Because if
Well,
you
here,
look
let me
at,
ask.
say,
Okay.
no, I
Go
was just
ahead.
gonna
Go
say
ahead.
is look at yourself before you date somebody and your life is good. You're happy, you're elevating, you're doing this, you're doing that. You date someone, it's all great, but then at the end it ends, and that's where a lot of people with the heartbreak. And look how you feel, look how you act. Your life is shattered. You feel like it's over. Now you're boozing in. Now you can't think straight. You're doing this, doing that. It's all because of that event and that situation in your life. So
Mhm.
all these traumatic events or anything that people have had to deal with or been through definitely changes them for sure. But now
Yeah.
but then that goes back to what I said earlier but it's your responsibility for the healing, nobody
Exactly.
else's,
Exactly.
right? Like it may not be your fault what happened to you, but it's up to you to change that and deal with it and fix it. It's your
Mhm.
responsibility, regardless of what it is. And I know, we get kicked in the face constantly in life, and some of these things, it is so hard to bounce back from and pull yourself up, right? Like we always say, it's okay to take a knee, right? We get knocked down, you're human beings, but it's
Well,
only up to you to get up and stand up and keep pushing and deal with it. So
let me ask
it's
you this. How would you describe trauma in your own words?
me.
Yeah, what does it mean to
Uh,
you? And then Anthony after.
well, I mean, it's in there's not really in my words. It's basically the Oxford dictionary definition of what Anthony said, right? It's just terrible things that has happened to you or that you've had to witness, right?
Yeah, but
So
I mean, like, what is it to you? Like, what is it to you? Like, how
Like,
does it
what is your
make?
experience?
like
Like
my
our
Yeah,
own
like,
experience,
experience?
like how does it make you feel? Like, what is it? What does trauma describe to you? Like, how does it make you feel
well, if I
when
look
you
back,
go
because
through something through trauma?
well, I mean, it kind of goes like I said with certain things that play off of the trauma, and for me, like losing my 3-year-old nephew and losing a son and
Definitely.
all these things in my life, and uh being abused as a child, and these are all things that I carried. And when I look at the trauma, like that created the depression, the constant state of depression, the high anxiety disorder at the time, and all these things, right? So trauma is just, I don't even know how I would describe it in my own words. It's just life altering,
Yeah, definitely.
right? It's definitely
Definitely.
life altering. And but again, it's what you do with that, right? Because you can
Yeah.
use, we said this a long time ago, is you use that pain to drive you, not destroy you. But
Have to.
most people let that pain destroy them, right? But
Yeah.
if you can turn that pain, turn that heartache, turn that loss into your driving force, you become a monster, and in a good way, right? And you work harder than you've never worked, you elevate in your life, and you just flip it. But a lot of people can't get there because it's such a traumatic experience, and some people aren't built to deal with that in
Yeah.
general. Some people are just super soft and sensitive and not strong enough. For prime example, real quick, one of my best high school friends, my mom's favorite, his wife left him. That was it. His life was good. 2 kids, married. Well, was married and good job, but his wife left him for someone else. Like a week or two later, he hung himself in his closet. He wasn't strong enough to deal with that.
Yeah.
He thought his life was over, and that was it. And it's truly heartbreaking. But some people aren't built and or strong enough to push through that. So it's
Definitely.
understandable, but however, it's still your responsibility where you have people that count on you. You have children, you got wife, you got kids, all these things, you know? And a lot of people feel like they don't got nobody or they're alone, but I promise you that there's somebody there that would be hurting if you weren't here anymore. I guarantee
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
And you don't realize the people that you touch in your day to day, right? It's just like our show is, yeah, we get a couple messages here and there that are super touching and even emotional because people are struggling. But how many people have we actually helped that haven't said nothing? So how
That's
many
right.
people that you've passed in your day that you changed something for them or made their day better, or because of you they didn't end their life because they
Yeah,
felt
man.
someone cared. So just know that there's whether you feel alone or not, man, there's people there that would hurt if you weren't here, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I actually can we switch this up a little bit? Can I throw a wrench into this bad boy?
what's
Yeah,
up?
man.
Um, I think we should just, if you guys are okay with it, touch on something very traumatic that happened that's changed your life. Um, just for everybody to show that we're all fucking human, man. That we've been through shit. We're still fucking going through that shit, and you're not alone. And that's what this is all about is, we make this platform for you guys to come on and understand that, you're not alone. There's other people out there that's hurting.
Are you asking us to trauma dump on our listeners?
No, man, just something that you've been through.
Sounds like it.
That's what it sounds like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm
I
down
guess
for it.
so.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Just a
We're
little
we're
story,
going
man.
we're going deep. We're going deep.
Yeah, man. Trauma's a deep thing, man. So I think, we might as be, everybody is, we'll show everybody we're vulnerable. We can fucking do this. If we can do it, you guys can do it, right? This is the whole meaning about this whole podcast, anyways.
Mhm.
Well, I can. Well, there's so many. It's sad, but it's
Just pick
true.
a gooder. Yeah. Just pick a gooder. We talk about it all the time. I mean, if you haven't listened before in our other episodes, I mean, we've opened up a little bit, so you can.
Yeah, it's been a while actually that we've really done that, right? So
Yeah.
you know what? I dated this girl. I'm gonna make this as short as possible. Long time ago, dated this girl. Everything was good. At that time, I really wanted to be a chef. And we're going back years ago now, when I was probably 22, 20 years ago. I always wanted to be a chef coming out of high school. I got accepted to the third best culinary arts university, and it was far away, far from where we were. Um, at that time, I knew that that's the route I wanted to take. She couldn't come with me. She had other obligations here, and I left to go to school. And fast forward 2 years later, I came back from school and I moved back. And we were on good terms. We just didn't have contact, different phone number, different area code, all that shit, right? 2 years later, I come back, sitting having lunch one day with a friend and eating fried chicken because I remember the day very clearly. And her best friend at the time walked by the window and she's freaking out. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm like, well, nice to see you too, but what's up? And she's like, after you left, she was pregnant and she had a baby and it's yours. Out of nowhere, dropped my food and my lunch on the ground. So I called her up and I'm freaking out now. Like all of a sudden I'm a dad, but she didn't know when I left she was pregnant either, right? So it's not like that. So she just know how to get a hold of me and blah, blah, blah. So I get a hold of her. We talk it out. Turns out, it's my son. And we start talking, and get back together. Well, we got back together for 2 years and like he was my whole world. Like called my mom grandma, like that little boy, was my whole world. I spent every minute that you know what I mean? Like I just love being a dad. I go to work one time, I had to leave town for a week, and while I was out at work, she cheated on me. And I found out obviously, and in the argument, big yelling, big screaming, I'm hurt, I'm crying, I'm broken, he cheated on me. Well, just to add gasoline to the fire, in the argument, she's like, by the way, that's not your son. After 2 years. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And of course, being cheated on, now you just threw that on me because the guy she cheated on me with, she now wanted to be with. Right? Now, keep in mind, when I dated her, she didn't drink and she barely drank and didn't do drugs. So there's a reason why I'm saying that. For my birthday, I'm a mess. I just got told I don't have a son, and I was just cheated on by the person that I thought I loved at the time. My mom got me a DNA test for my birthday. That was my birthday present because back then it was like $700 or something like that. I come to my mom's, the envelope's on the table. I open the envelope on my birthday, not my son. That day I lost my son, and that day I phoned her, and as much as I hated her for it to even do that, I told her, I don't care what this piece of paper says. I still want to take him every weekend. I'm his dad. He calls me dad. That's my boy. And that day I opened that piece of paper, I never seen him again. There was nothing I could do, and she wouldn't let me take him. She wanted to be with this guy. She ended up having a kid with that guy, another baby. And that destroyed me, obviously. And all I
Yeah,
wanted
no
to do is
kidding.
be there, even no matter what this piece of paper said. And from that next 6 months, I drinking every day, obviously, drinking and driving, bar fights. I was a mess.
Yeah, fucked your shit up,
Three
definitely.
3 years later, I'm at the water park with my cousin and her kids, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, behind me, I get a tug on the back of my shirt. I turn around, it's him. I haven't seen him in 3 years. Just like that, overnight, I lost my son. 3 years later, he's tugging on the back of my shirt at a water park, and he's like, "I know you." He's like, "You're Daddy Joe." And I've never been speechless in my entire life, and I couldn't say a word, and I was just but I knew it was him, and I look up, and in the distance, I could see the mother walking through the parking lot, like, kinda, like, scurrying, so I didn't see her. And to go back how I said she didn't do drugs when I dated her, well, that guy did do drugs, got her on drugs, and 2 weeks after I seen him at the park, his mother OD'd and died in the living room in front of her kids because of him. So,
Fuck,
my
that kid's gonna have
experience,
some
like
trauma.
Oh yeah.
and you think I had trauma, but that
Yeah,
child, that little boy,
yeah.
man, like, I feel my heart for that child more than what I've had to deal with in that situation, and I was a mess, and obviously, even now, if that happened to me at my age, you'd still be a disaster, but at least I would have the tools, you know? Back then, I didn't have the tools, and I just drove my car into basically anything and didn't care. I gave up. I didn't care. And to this day, you know, I still think about him, but it turns out he wasn't my son, and he was, but he was. So I lost the son after 2 years, just like that,
Mhm.
overnight by a piece of paper, because she wanted to be with some guy that was partying and all this shit. So you know, and and that kind of makes me think with some of the people listening that deal with these things is it also made me realize even telling this story now is a lot of people don't have these tools to help get through these things, let alone being
Mhm.
a sensitive person that can't deal with it, like my buddy that hung himself, right? He didn't have the tools. He didn't know how to, pick himself back up. And just like me, I barely picked myself up at 20 years old or 22
Yeah.
years old, you know what I mean?
Well, especially in the
So,
world that we're living in now, man, everything's fucked. I mean, healthcare is all messed up. Really
Oh,
is,
can I
man.
touch on that, please?
Go ahead,
Please.
buddy. Yeah.
So before I get into my trauma, like I'll tell you guys a story. So last night I was at the hospital after my dad's operation, and he was in post-op ICU. And my brother and I are sitting in this family room. It was like 9:30 at night, and this woman comes in, and you could tell she was distressed. Like a security guard just brought her into the room. And my brother's very social, and he's like, "Oh, like what are you here for?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm here for my partner and my husband." And we were just kind of shooting the shit, just gathering like minimal amount of information. And then my brother's just kind of like, "Oh, like what happened?" She's like, "Well, I came home from work and I saw him laying on the floor of the kitchen with his stomach like his insides on his outsides, essentially, is the way she had put it."
Oh, shit.
And we're just like, "Oh my god, like was it self-inflicted or was it accidental?" And she's like, "I'm pretty sure it was self-inflicted because 3 weeks before he was in the hospital. He was in the military. He had deployed into Afghanistan, came home, went to the hospital last week, got sent home, and then now he's there for a major surgery because he essentially fucking gutted himself." And this is what
Yeah.
fucking infuriates me about the government and our healthcare system. My dad's been in the hospital for over 2.5 months, awaiting the lung surgery that he finally had. They've just been there pumping him full of drugs. The day they anticipate him on having the surgery every single day, so he has to fast, so he's not allowed to eat. And then
Oh,
finally at 7 o'clock at night, they tell him that he's allowed to eat because the surgery's not happening. He was supposed to have it last Monday. That was literally 7 days ago. So about now Well, 2 hours ago today, a week ago, he would have been told that he's not having the surgery and he can finally fucking eat today. So there's two big problems with this. For one, we're understaffed when it comes to healthcare because no human being should sit in a hospital for that long awaiting a surgery. And my dad's not a healthy man by any means. He's older, and all they were doing is pumping him full of fucking hydromorphine oxycontin. That's all they were doing. And then the other problem is when it comes to mental health stuff, it's not taken fucking serious enough, especially when it comes to men. I sat and talked with this woman for
Definitely.
45 minutes before I was able to go in and see my dad, and this is the exact conversation we had because what they did in Ontario, they just uh the provincial government just passed a law that they can sell like alcohol in private stores. So you can literally go into any fucking store, the convenience store, the gas station. You can buy where I grab my monsters in the morning. There's literally two fridges in the gas station. It's one of those like mini gas bars, and they sell
Yeah,
beer
yeah.
on one side. So thank God
Yeah.
we can fucking buy beer in the gas station at 7 in the morning now. But God forbid someone is struggling mentally who served our fucking country, who's now in the hospital because he essentially tried to gut himself alive.
Yeah,
You
no
know, like
kidding, man.
and again, now think of his poor wife walking in and seeing her husband literally fucking ripped wide open on the kitchen floor. And then there's my dad starving and just being pumped full of oxygen. But lo and behold, we have beer in the fucking gas stations now. So that's just one thing that I have a serious problem with is the way that healthcare like handles this type of stuff. It handles anything and really
Yeah,
like it's a fucking joke, man. Like I've had
yeah.
conversations with people a lot recently, and it's like it would almost be better to be in the States, even though it costs a shit ton of money. At least when you need the care, you get the fucking care. You're not sitting in a hospital bed on pain management, or you go in for mental health issues and they send you out the door with a fucking Ativan and tell you to go home and get some sleep. That guy clearly suffers
Mhm.
major PTSD. She was telling us that. I'm assuming he told the doctors that when he was there the week before. And like that's how he gets treated. He literally has to fucking gut himself to fucking get a bed and actually talk to someone. Like that's insane, man. That's insane.
Yeah. It's sad, man. Well, I think it was in
It's
Saskatchewan. I just heard, the hospital shuts down. I think at like 12 o'clock, and this guy was knocking on the door because he was having a heart attack, and they told him they sorry we can't help you, and they kept the doors locked, and they called an ambulance, and the guy had to
yeah,
take him an hour away.
yeah, that's
Ridiculous.
fucking ridiculous,
What
man.
kind of fucking
Our
hospital shuts down, man? And then you're telling patients they gotta go. They're just gonna you let them die on your fucking front door?
I know. I would hate to be and don't get me wrong, this isn't a job at the workers, right? Like
No.
this has very minimal to do with the workers. It's the healthcare system in itself that's just a fucking
Yeah.
disaster, man. So that poor
Yeah.
woman having to deal with that trauma and then yeah, the trauma that I dealt with yesterday sitting at my son's birthday and my brother calls me and says, "You better show up." Dad's saying he doesn't want to die on your son's birthday. That's fucking traumatic. That broke me, man. Yesterday,
Yeah,
that like
man.
sent me over the edge. I've been so strong when it comes to my dad being in the hospital. I've been the grounding person in the whole family. Like he's in the best place, he's getting the best care. Like there's nothing we can do except show up when he needs us. And like I
That's
was
all you can
just
do.
so burnt out yesterday by the time that had happened that I literally had to leave my son's birthday party to just go to the hospital. I took the day off work to be at the hospital just to spend time with him, man. Like, yeah, fucking trauma sucks, man. Trauma sucks. What about you, Eric?
Yep.
What's your defining moment of trauma in your life?
Oh god. It turned into PTSD. Oh, let's crack this one open. Um, I was in a summer camp. I was 5 years old, and, I got in trouble for whatever I did because I was a little pain in the ass little prick at that time in my life. And, yeah, for about half an hour, 45 minutes, I'd had to sit at the picnic table inside the mess hall, and this teacher would just grab a fork, and there was, like, McDonald's trays, like, it looks like or whatever, food trays, and it was cubes of, meat. I think it was pork, and this camp counselor, all she did was she would grab a fork, jam it in the food, jam it in my throat, and then jam it and then hold it right in front of my lips until I, um, finish eating that piece, and she just kept on shoving food in my mouth. And I would get up and run to the bathroom, puke it out, get back up, run back, sit down, and she would just keep on feeding me this shit. And it pretty much fucked up my mental state that from the age of 5 all the way to 32 years old, I didn't eat meat because every time I wanted to eat it, it brought back me puking it up into that moment. Even though I wanted to eat it so bad, it would smell good. My best friend that passed away, he was on MasterChef Canada. The guy could cook, and he would try to like trick me all the time just so I could eat it because I knew like I wanted to eat it, but because of the PTSD, it just fucked me up, and it just every time I tried to eat it, I would just puke. And then finally, I just kind of overcame that. So yeah, that was fucked up.
I feel like trauma plays a huge part in shaping us as human beings, and kind of like we
Definitely.
talked about, some of it's big, some of it's small. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's a really good indicator of defining you as a person. But there is one thing that I want to touch on. If you guys want to chime in on this as well, don't weaponize your fucking trauma against somebody else. Right? Like, don't be a shitty person to someone else because you have your own issues. And the best
Definitely.
example I'll give you, and I watched this movie on Netflix last night. I don't know if you guys have seen it on there. I don't even know if you'd be interested in it, but I would genuinely wasn't. And then I started watching it. And I was like, holy fuck, this is kind of wild. The best example I'll give you is when it comes to trans people, and like, I'm not saying anything bad about trans people, but it's the ones who weaponize being misgendered. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be a fucking asshole because of it if it's an accident. So there's a new documentary on Netflix. It's called Will and Harper, and it's about Will Ferrell and one of his writers when he was on SNL. His original name was Andy, and then he transitioned into this woman named Harper. And what they do is they go on a road trip across America to all the places that she used to go when she was a man, to just kind of see what the experience was like. And it was really eye opening for me. Like, it was super like informative about the experience of transitioning from a man to a woman, and how she was perceived. Like, fuck, I just did it there. How she was perceived after she transitioned, and going back into
Mm-hmm.
the same places that she used to go as a woman. And there was a lot of hateful stuff, and this was obviously before the documentary had come out. Like, they were saying Will Ferrell was jumping on the trend with hanging out with trans people and all this, and that wasn't the case at all. It was one of his best friends. But don't weaponize your trauma against other people, and don't be fucking mad at other people for not realizing your trauma. Like, you don't have to wear your trauma on your sleeve, but that doesn't give you a free pass to be a fucking asshole to other people in the world. And just misgendering is just a fucking example. Like, so much stuff, like child abuse. Like,
It's like playing a
if
victim, isn't
someone's
it? Almost.
that's
Well,
exactly it.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
too, and not just weaponizing it, but using it as an excuse for
Yeah.
why your life is shitty, or it
Yeah.
gives you no. It is not a reason to treat people like shit
Yeah.
No.
because I'm like this because of that. And then when you get in arguments in a relationship, you're like, well, I'm just so used to this and I'm so used to that. Like, I don't care. I'm not them.
Yep.
And especially when you're trying to
Yeah.
be, whether it's a relationship, friendship, or whatever. Like, I'm a good person. I'm trying to be kind. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to show you I care. And then you're using this bullshit as an excuse that happened to you 13 years ago. You got to drop that shit. Like,
Hmm.
I'm sorry that all this happened to you. I really am. But again, like what I said at the very beginning, it is your responsibility to heal. Yours. Nobody else's. Right? So whatever it is that has happened to you, and I was through these abusive relationships, and it's heartbreaking. And I'm sorry that you
Yeah.
had to go through that and deal with that, and family loss and all of it, because we lived it. The only difference between us and some of you is that we chose to do something about it. We hit a breaking point. We decided that's enough. We don't want to feel like this anymore. I'm tired of bleeding on people that didn't cut me. You know, I'm tired of people not wanting to hang out with me because I'm the way I was being like that, or always miserable, always angry, always fuck the world, playing that victim card. But it's again, I'll say it every fucking week. It's where you are in your life is because of you. Nobody else. Not because what happened to you. It's the choices that you have made that has put you where you are today.
It's
And
true, man.
it's a struggle through your traumas. And that's why we're talking about it tonight, because we just talked about something that we've dealt with. And I could sit here for fucking weeks with the amount of
Yeah.
shit that I've had that I've lived.
hmm
But regardless, like, it wasn't my fault I was abused as a child. It wasn't my fault that my 3-year-old nephew died. It wasn't my fault that I lost my son. But it's still my responsibility to heal from that. And it
It's
is
true, man.
so hard, and I get it, and it is so hard. And it is a struggle every day, but it is still your responsibility. It's only up to you. So these things that happen to you is no excuse. Do not weaponize it. Do not play that card because of that. That's why you are the way you are. You are that way, not because of that, because you allowed yourself to become that. That's the difference. You chose
Yeah.
not to deal with it. You chose to push it down. You chose to blame everybody else because it was easier not to look yourself in the face and take accountability and take responsibility or whatever the situation.
You know what
You
word that I really hate too, that kind of goes along with everything that you're saying right now, is triggers or triggered. Triggers,
Yeah,
I
man.
understand triggers, but triggered. I'm sorry, you're offended or something I said or did upset you. So now you want me to compromise what I believe in and what I feel to make you feel more safe and okay. I'm sorry, but that's not how the fucking world works. So now I have to feel uncomfortable because you feel uncomfortable. So now I have to change the way that I act, feel, and behave because you're uncomfortable. That's not how the fucking world works. If you're so triggered by something, for one, you need to do more fucking work on yourself. And
Yeah.
two, remove yourself from the situation. And if you keep putting yourself in that situation, like Joey said, you are there because you put yourself there. You may not have been the cause of why you ended up there originally or why you feel the way you feel about a situation. But if you put yourself in that situation, guess what? Nobody fucking dragged you there. You put yourself there. So it's up to you to remove yourself from that. But do the fucking work on yourself so that this doesn't become a pattern of insanity that you go through. So now you want everybody else to tiptoe around you. The best example I can give you is my recovery. Like, I get sober and then I'm gonna go to house parties and then just be fucking mad at everybody for drinking. Like, no,
Yeah.
I fucking put myself there. And so now
Yeah.
I'm gonna give everybody shit at the party for drinking. No, that's not how that works. If I'm uncomfortable in a situation, and it has happened, I don't care how much sober time I have, it has happened. I will remove myself from a situation. And I know where the line is. There's a line, especially when it comes to drinking, where people will keep telling the same story and they'll ask you the same questions, you hear the same thing over and over again. And that's usually my cue to get out. Because by that time, I've had enough genuine conversations. Everybody's well past where they should be, and they're going to carry on. I have no business being there anymore, and I'm out. But what am I gonna do? Sit there and fucking scold them? No. So don't. What the fuck did I say earlier? I can't even think because that's firing me up.
You're
Yeah,
pretty
don't.
much just
weaponize.
saying manage your fucking
Yeah,
triggers.
yeah. Don't be mad at
Manage
other
your
people for
triggers.
triggering you. Yeah, do the work so that you don't get triggered.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's another thing is most people don't want to do the work because talking about it triggers them. These things trigger them. They don't want to tell somebody in a room that they were touched when they were a child. Nobody wants to admit that. I get it. I was that person. Hi. But and most people don't because and some people like, well, I'm different. I'm an open book. I'll talk about all these problems all day long, and it's not a trigger. But I know some people, you talk about one thing that was really bad, I give them that,
Yeah.
in their life, and they hyperventilate, brown paper bag it. I don't want to talk about it. They get angry, they storm away, and it just sets them off, right? And that's what happens even in the relationships too, is all these the way that people act in relationships, and you see guys flipping tables and always angry and screaming at, dude, those are triggers, but that's stemming from something way before that relationship. 1,000,000%,
Yeah.
right? Because most of the time, what your little argument with your wife or your boyfriend or whatever, it might be heated, but not for someone to go and punch holes in the walls and this. That is an act of trauma from their past that they never dealt with. 100%. Right?
Yeah.
And that's why most people won't go get the help. Is one, they don't want to believe that they're fucked up. They're embarrassed to say what happened to them, so they bury it. And they don't want to get triggered because they know how much anxiety it'll cause them and how much stress and anger, and they won't sleep and this and that. But
We all need help.
the only way to fight the demons that chase you is to turn around and face them.
I was gonna say the only way to
Mhm.
handle this shit or deal with your trauma is to fucking face it.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, though, like even my biggest traumas, like working through them out loud is not as big as they are in my head or in my heart. Like my biggest one, I would have to say is being adopted and dealing with trauma of like abandonment issues. But in my head, I can make it such a big fucking thing. But when I talk about it out loud, regardless of being adopted or not, I've had the same mother since I was fucking born, the same father, the same two brothers. Along the way, I met my biological family and I gained another brother and I gained another mother. But in my head, it doesn't sound or feel like that. Right. So the more I talk about it, the quieter it gets. And it's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
That's my experience with adoption and stuff. Abuse, be it child abuse, sexual, physical, verbal, whatever. The only thing that I've learned when it comes to some of that stuff, because I've dealt with some of it, um, is if you don't deal with it, you are keeping yourself sick because of somebody else. Just like Joey said, it's up to you to fix it. But if you stay sick, that's because you choose to stay sick.
Mhm.
We know how fucking scary it is to face and deal with this shit. But that's why we're here doing this now, because we realized after we had started doing it, it really wasn't that fucking big of a deal. It's not
Yeah.
fun. This is fun. I enjoy this.
This
But
is fun.
yeah, to deal with the heavy shit, it's a lot easier than you think it's going to be. I can say that with confidence. For me, it was.
Nothing
Well,
can
what it
kill
is
you fast. Yeah, nothing can kill you faster than the thoughts in your own head.
Yep.
exactly.
That's it.
You're your biggest critic, man. You're gonna fight yourself the whole time, you know? And that's
Yeah.
the thing is you're fighting yourself. Write it out. Write it out on a piece of paper, you know? Like you said, seek the help, get a
And
counselor. We're all fucked. We all need to
it's
talk
the
to
same.
someone.
Like I struggled with high anxiety for years, and when anyone who's ever felt anxiety and how shitty it is when you have that, you usually run from the thing that you think is causing you the anxiety, right? Because it's easier. If I don't do it and I walk away or I run away or I don't talk to that person, I'll feel better. And you're running away from it. But one thing over years, and I was bad, and it causes the overthinking. And again, you're the biggest battle is in your own mind. I made everything 100 times worse in my head than what it actually was.
Yeah.
Right? Paranoid, worried, this, overthinking that. But then I started to get to a point where I was done running in a sense of from my mind. So anything that caused anyone that deals with the anxiety, and just like a traumatic experience, is you got to stop running from it and hit it head on. If you have bad anxiety, it's a prime example. Don't run from it. If it makes you scared and it causes you the anxiety, do it. And then you're going to realize that it wasn't even that bad. And it was all in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same with dealing with your shit, dealing with your past. Yeah, as you're going to get that anxiety, you're going to get stress and anger and whatever the triggers. But once you deal with it, you're going to realize how much more clarity you have in your day to day that we've always talked about.
And freedom.
And that's then the freedom, the mental
Mm-hmm.
freedom, where all those dark clouds in your mind start to fade out and you start to see some blue sky finally, and you start to breathe better and you start to be more present, and you get to be there when your kids want to play with you and actually be there, not just physically because you're too busy fucking struggling, dying inside, burying things. Oh, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. No, you're not. You're not
Get
fine.
worse. Hell yeah.
Change before you have to.
I think
That's a
I've
word of
talked to you
advice.
guys about this before too. Have we talked about Manson's law of avoidance? I don't know if I brought it
No.
up on the episodes or
I
not.
don't think so.
So
No.
Manson's law of avoidance essentially says that like the more you try to avoid something, the more you're allowing it to control your life.
Oh yeah.
So
Fact.
say
Because you're thinking
so
about it,
say
right?
yeah, and you're allowing it to
Yeah.
control your life. So say you have a problem with a
Yeah.
fucking person, and say, okay, Eric, say your daughter's in Girl Guides and you have an issue with someone and you know they also have a daughter in Girl Guides and you really don't want to see this person. So you avoid taking your daughter to Girl Guides. Well, now you're not allowing yourself to do the things that you want to do because you're trying to avoid this person. So very much
Yeah.
so in the sense of avoiding dealing or healing or working through your traumas, those traumas are now controlling your life because you're avoiding facing them.
Yeah.
So those will intrinsically allow you to not do certain things in your life when maybe that one
Makes sense.
situation that you experienced may have been traumatic, but that doesn't mean every time that you enter a similar area or whatever the fuck it is, like a relationship. Like, are you really going to just not date anymore because you had a traumatic experience in one relationship? No, but I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
sure you'll take a fucking break, but you're not going
Yeah.
to avoid relationships because one person was really horrible to you,
I
right?
mean,
So,
there has been cases though. There has been
oh,
cases
for
where
sure.
like, you know what I mean? People, but they're just not strong
Absolutely.
enough to get out there. But I
Well,
mean,
I think
that's
that
because someone has them tied up in their basement. You know what I mean? Pouring
Yeah. Yeah, fucking
fucking honey
Dahmer.
on them or some shit.
but
You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
understandable.
Mhm.
that theory even ties into people's day to day. Like if you look at why most people don't do what they love to do as a job, why they don't
Oh yeah.
start the business they always wanted to start, because they're scared of what other people think.
Yeah.
There's,
Fear.
they getting fear. Their fear because of other. They're everybody is so busy living other people's thoughts, right?
It's true.
So
Yep.
they're
Yeah.
so worried about what they're gonna think when I post this. They're gonna think, oh, I only got one like and nobody likes it. Shit, and take it down. And it's the same thing. You're scared, right? Just in a different way than like your trauma facing. It's the same principle though. Once you start take that chance and you get over the fact that who fucking cares what anybody thinks? They have no
Mm-hmm.
relevance in your life. If you can get past that fear, and most people can't, right? And live your life for you. And you start making if it's social media content, whatever, fucking baking, I don't know, whatever it is that the people want to
DJing,
do.
breakdancing.
Yeah,
Only
anything. And you
pants.
start posting it, you start doing it. You're you, you're gonna get, no matter what you do in your life, people are gonna criticize it. So just do. Why not do you? You're
Yeah.
gonna get hate on anyway. Dude, you know how many for the first time in my life, I'm doing so many positive things that I'm still getting hated on. Like
That's
I
how you know
laugh
you're
now.
doing good though, man. You want the haters because
Mhm.
then it
But
sets you
see,
straight.
but
But you know
people
what
gotta
too
realize
though,
like
bro? I have to say, man, this platform that we're on, like everybody that's gonna watch this episode on Friday when it drops, we're live on TikTok, and I mean TikTok, man. There's so many people in this TikTok world that just are themselves because they're too scared to go outside and be themselves outside. So they're themselves on this platform, and they get lots of love. There is a hate definitely like that, But then you got the other people that go out of their way to like even put themselves in danger to get views. It's ridiculous. Now you are not yourself. I don't know. That shit just fucking drives me. This whole NPC shit. That's just a whole nother ball game.
Oh fuck.
But
Yeah.
again, with it's your trauma, it's your day-to-day life. Starting a business is in order to get over that fear and those triggers and that anxiety is you have to hit it
Mhm.
face on. You just got to do it. No matter what, every area in your life, whatever it is that scares you, that's where you're going to grow and learn and find
Go
tools to
through it.
deal with these things and excel in your life and step out of that comfort zone.
I
You
literally
know
had
what I
that
mean?
conversation with my therapist last week. I was contemplating taking a job, but it was only a 7-month contract, and 7 months isn't a really long time. So I just got her professional opinion. She's like, "Do you know what I'm going to say?" And I was like, "No, I don't." She's like, "Listen, nothing good ever happened to anybody without taking a fucking risk." She's
Yep.
like, I'd rather see you take that shot and be like, fuck, it didn't work out, than sit there and be like, fuck, I wish I took that shot." So I messaged the guy back. He unfortunately hired somebody else. But that's okay. Like, I feel good that I at least tried to make an effort. But from here on out, it's like, fuck, like I'm doing it.
Well, you
Whatever
didn't
it is, I'm
fail.
doing it.
You
I
That's
didn't
not
fail.
failure.
No.
You at least took the shot. You failing is not listening to your counselor, not going
Yep.
forward.
Yep. That's right.
You know what's the sad truth is that most people are born crying, live complaining, and die disappointed.
Some people don't
And
even
then wonder
fucking
why.
live, brother. Some people don't
Yeah.
even live, you know, or have nothing. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and but it's all it's they just don't want to face their own problems because it's so
Yeah,
easy to do this, right? And
yeah.
point your fingers and it's their fault, so you don't have to feel so shitty about yourself,
We should make a
right?
T-shirt
But
like
again,
that.
the two fingers, but
Yeah, yeah. Raw minds.
Gang signs, raw minds.
Yeah,
but you know what? Regardless, is at the end of the day, man. It's whatever it is that you've been through. It's your responsibility, man, to heal from that. And so many people hold on to the hate. Like, let's put it this way: you cannot heal from what you hate. Meaning that if
fact.
you have suffered traumatic experiences for myself, child abuse, any of these things, and if I hold on to that and that hate, and I did for a long time, and people that backstab me and all these things that happen to you, and you can't let it go and you hold on to this hate, you can never heal from it because you
Don't be a
didn't never
hater.
learn to let that go. You
Yeah,
know, they say, forgive and forget, or just forgive them, and it's for you. Forgiveness is for you. Like, I'm not even saying you have to forgive them, but you have to let it go because it
yeah,
happened regardless, whether you like it or not. It's happened, but you have to learn to let it go and stop holding on to that hate. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You hold on to these traumas and anger and hurts. It's take all those thoughts and those hates that you have and tape it with a sticky note or tape onto a fucking cinder block and walk around for an hour holding it. See how much that weighs you down in 1 hour. That's what you're carrying in your mind and weighing your life down because you refuse to release that weight. But instead, you're carrying that weight around 24 hours a day. And like we also said, especially as men who are the good men that are trying, but are struggling financially, but they just want to be a good guy and be the best to their girlfriends and the best father. And every day we wake up, we brush our teeth, we get ready for work, put our shoes on, and we put on that backpack full of bricks. And we carry that weight every day. And it's the same thing carrying that cinder block in that backpack of bricks. It's the same for us. So when you holding on to this weight and you just can't let it go, you're just putting on another backpack like some of us are. and you're carrying that weight and it weighs you down to the point where your legs give out, and that's where people unalive themselves because it gets
Get
so much
tired.
that they can't handle it anymore and they get tired
Yeah.
and they can't lift their heads up anymore. Because I was there, I couldn't carry the weight anymore. It broke me, and it is breaking a lot of you. But in order to release those bricks, is you have to turn around, face whatever it is that's happened to you, and you have to let it go. And it's not easy. And all the things, even tonight that I mentioned, times 100 other things, I had to learn to let it go because it happened, and there's nothing I can do about it. Now I have to look forward. You know, that's why the windshield's bigger than the review, right?
Yep.
100%. Well, let's
But if
face
you
it,
guys,
man. We all have trauma, you know?
Everybody does.
We all do.
we all do.
Everybody fucking deals with trauma, man. Like, I mean, and like we said, it could be from an accident to physical, mental, whatever it may be. You know, we've all dealt with it some way. Could be small, could be big. It's just a matter of how we deal with it, like you said, man. You know, you got to face it. Go see the counselor. Go do this. Take the right steps to keep on going forward. At the end of the day, that's what matters, is pushing forward. You know, and so what? Okay, you laid in your bed for 2 days. Okay, take that time, lay in your bed. Okay, then the next day, get up and fucking do it again. It's okay to fail, or not fail, but fall. You know, you need to take that time. Okay, take that time, but don't let it take it over you. You know, find the help.
You can't.
Just find the help, man.
And
Reach out, find the
listen,
help, deal with it.
we
That's all
are
you
all
can do.
we are all broken, but that's
Yeah,
how you let the light
100%.
in, right? You let
Yeah.
the light in because you're broken. So just think about that. So whatever you guys are struggling with, man, is don't let it weigh you down anymore. You got to drop that cinder block. Release those fucking bricks out of that backpack as much
Love
as you
yourself.
can.
Love
Love
yourself.
yourself, and it's the most cliche, and I've heard it for years. You
Yeah.
just got to love yourself. Yeah, yeah. But
True.
I didn't truly understand what, or even if that was possible
Yeah.
until I started putting in the work, and I'm like, damn, like now it's just I never thought in a million years, and I still struggle. We all do. It's life, 100%. I still get anxiety
Yeah.
from time to time, and I still feel down and have hard days. That's normal. But to go from 20 years of that to where I'm at now, I never thought it was possible. But I chose to find the tools and reach out and deal with it. And I'm not perfect. That's not what I'm saying.
No
But
one is.
if you guys even felt what I felt thinking about killing yourself for years, every day it would cross your mind. And some days I even tried to never feeling this good in my life mentally and so present and aware and self aware where I'm able to be the best father, I can be the best boyfriend, husband, finally. But it took a lot of work, and that's what you guys need to do is just put in the work, and I promise you will get there. There are better days on the other end, and when you're in that deep, dark depression and that dark hole, just know, and it doesn't feel like it, but it's temporary. It is.
Everything's temporary.
Don't make
Yeah,
permanent
man.
decisions on your temporary emotions.
Everything, even the good. Have you guys ever seen that video? I think it's like Rob Schneider, Norm Macdonald. I can't remember who else is there. Tom Hanks is there, and they're doing the "That'll Pass" thing. They're
No.
like, "Oh, I got a phone call today," and my buddy's like, "Oh, this was the worst day ever." He's like, "Yeah, that'll pass." Then the next day, he got a
Oh,
phone call
yeah.
from the same buddy,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh man, this is the best day ever." Yeah, that'll pass. Like
Yeah.
this is life, man. Like it's not, it's not a, there's no fucking finish line. There's no banner to run across and achieve anything. We get to experience all of it, right? We get to experience the good, and we get to experience the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the heartbreaking, the heart fulfilling, like all of it. And we don't get a say in when and what order that shit's gonna happen. It's just it's gonna happen. So build yourself up with some tools like we've tried to accomplish here. Like we've all done our own work in our own ways to get to where we are, right? And we just all share the passion to bring this out to the world because it's fucking important, man. Because life doesn't have to feel as heavy as it does sometimes. And when it does, we want you to understand that it's okay. Like dealing with my dad in the hospital, man. Like this has been a fucking long 2 months, and yesterday was heavy. Sitting at my son's birthday party and my brother blowing my phone up. Man, he says he doesn't want to die on your son's birthday. That sucks to hear. But what
Definitely.
do? The only thing I know is to do the next best thing or the next right thing that I think is right. That's show up for my father. There's a better chance that my son's going to have more birthdays than my father in this present moment. So where should I be with my father? You know? And hopefully one day my son will show up for me when I need him. And he can leave his son at a fucking Nerf gun battle, but by the time he's my age, they'll probably be using full-blown lasers, for Christ's sakes.
No kidding, yeah. Take us home, brother.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you guys are struggling, listen, this is why we're here. We love this shit. We love talking about this shit. Hell, we talk to each other during the week when we're not fucking busy about this shit.
Yeah, we do.
We don't even need to do this all the time for you guys. We do it for ourselves too, right? So if you are struggling, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We all have TikTok. We have a group TikTok, like a podcast TikTok, and we all have our own. Rawminds.Erick, Rawminds.Anthony, Rawminds.Joey. Hit us up. We're on all social media. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And if you're struggling and you want to have a conversation or you want to come on the show, because we're getting to that point where we start needing to have some guests on the show, and we'd fucking love to have you. If you're struggling with something or if you've overcome something and you want to come on and share your story, fuck yeah. Hit us up at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com. And don't ever forget to leave a review and share wherever you can. So I'm going to leave you with this tonight. Listen, doing the work that we've done hasn't made my life any better. It's just made me better at living it. And that's what it's all about. Because I don't get a say in how I live it. I just get to live it. Love you guys.
Well said. Peace.
Bye.